Mike. This is Paul Shortino here. I hear you got yourself a YouTube show called Grab a Stack of Rock. Oh yeah, oh no, I feel I'm dreaming again. Oh no, I'm dreaming. Oh no, I feel I'm dreaming again. Oh no, I'm dreaming. Oh yeah, I'm dreaming of watching you. That's right, Mike. And your new show on YouTube called Grab a Stack of Rock. Peace, love.
Friday night, we're off to the races. Come and see familiar faces. Uncle Meat, Rob Daniels, Jon Snow. Gibby's here, it's the place to go. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the man, Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. T-Bone's here, it's time for a party. And Chris has got the comments started. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the man, Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock. Grab a stack of rock.
Hello, Jex Russell.
Hello. Oh, I love that. Ooh, maybe I'm prone to overload.
Great song, isn't it?
It is. It's a great
I'll have
song.
to get you some Max the Axe.
Yes.
It's interesting that Chris Sarr finds that Paul Shortino clip creepy, but hey, whatever. I appreciate your feedback, Chris Sarr. Anyway, we have an awesome show lined up. We have a packed show today.
Yeah, we do.
And we may as well start with Paul Shortino.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we have some unboxings to do. And this one here says that on the front that it might be a rough cut CD. But this is kind of cool because this isn't just a rough cut CD. This is a Rock Candy remastered rough cut.
Dude, consider me jealous.
Hey man, you were the one that found that Japanese vinyl.
And I didn't get it.
This does have a lot of great tunes on it. Dreamin' Again, track 4. That's the one Paul was singing there in that clip.
Oh, great track.
No bonus tracks, produced by Tom Alam. And I'm sure you recognize that name from Judas Priest.
Right.
There's a picture of rough cut through a cracked jewel case, which kind of looks like the front of my phone at present. So that's cool. I can't wait to hear that. And unfortunately, I have to wait a few days because we don't have a CD player here. The second one.
You have one in the car?
Sorry?
You have one in the car? CD player?
No.
Not even.
No.
Man.
They don't make them anymore. Well, I don't think they do anyway. This now, I'm wondering if you know this band. Back in 1980, now it doesn't say exactly when, but back in the mid to early 80s, these guys were fighting for the earth.
I don't think I'm
familiar with Warrior? No, eh? In Canada, they used to sell this as USA Warrior. There must have been another Warrior, but they used to sell this as USA Warrior in Canada.
Okay.
I only know the title track, Fighting for the Earth. And I recommend, Jex, when you get home, you throw on your YouTube and play Fighting for the Earth by Warrior. You're going to love it. Okay. I'm sure the viewers remember Warrior. Hey, Mike Vargo in the house. Mike Vargo, tell us if you remember Warrior, a.k.a. USA Warrior. And I don't know who was ripping off these Def Leppard logos, but it's a good thing you're here, Tim. I'm glad you're here because as everyone knows, we're talking about books today. And Tim just released his book, Unspooled, an Adventure in 8 Tracks, on Amazon. That's a second edition. This is a hardcover first edition. I have the soft cover. We unboxed it last week. And you can get yours right now on amazon.com.ca, whatever your Amazon of choice is. You can pick up Unspooled, an Adventure in 8 Tracks.
So proud of you, Tim. It's a great book.
It is a great book.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a fan of the format of 8 tracks to enjoy this book. It's more about collecting.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
yours truly has a chapter in here, so I'm extra proud. But I will say this, is that I'm happy to retire my original first printing, because I don't know if you can kind of see the creases developing from love, from too much love.
I was going to say, that's love. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. But, they don't make these anymore. There's Tim.
Little Tim.
They don't make these anymore. They don't make these first printings. And the second printing has been updated because Tim has learned a lot about what is out there on 8-track. And he only includes stuff in his list at the end of the book. He only includes stuff that he knows for fact physically exists because he's seen it, or he's seen an ad for it in a record club, ad.
Yeah. There's no maybe here. It's for sure.
Yeah. If it's in this book, it exists.
Yeah. And let's not forget, just like I said last week, let's not forget Matt Phillips, who helped with the design of the book. They both did some stellar work, and I recommend it. I love it.
Shout out to Matt Phillips. You'll see him on Tim's Vinyl Confessions frequently. Also, just want to give a quick shout out to Kevin, the Mars Man, who's not able to watch live, but promised that he'd be checking this out later. I want to give a shout out to Henry. He's been reading my blog and leaving some great comments lately. And a shout out to Eric Litwiller, who left some awesome comments last week with our show about bonus tracks that should have been on the album with Peter Kerr. And a shout out to Mr. Peter Kerr, who was an absolute joy to have on the show for the first time.
Yes.
Anyway, this is book number 1 that I wanted to show today. You can get yours again at your Amazon.com or .ca. I have to create a discard pile for my books. I have a lot to go through, and what you've done, because you are your books are in storage right now.
Yeah, they're all boxed up in the closet. So I couldn't bring anything. I couldn't grab a stack of books, man.
They physically couldn't grab the stack of books, but digitally is a whole other story, because what we've got at the end of the show, we're going to run a video that Jex made in what year?
2016.
2016, so fairly recent.
Well, it's a little out of date, but it'll do.
Well, this guy, he hasn't aged a day since 2016. But anyway, long story short, because Jex's books are in storage.
My hairline begs to differ.
Hey, take it easy there, Dr. Strange. You look good. Anyway, because Jex doesn't have any books physically with him, that's what we're going to do for his collection, is we're going to run that video at the end of the show. So look forward to that, because this guy, he's a ham. I love his work.
Thank you.
Shall we get started?
Yes. Don't forget, we started the show with.
Oh, I forgot. Yes. Speaking of Tim Derling, we always like to start the show with a little thing called Ask Harrison. But of course, Harrison, it's 4:30 in the morning in Australia. So we have an Ask Jex from special guest Tim Derling.
I got a question for Jex. What the shit? What the shit, Jex? No, I'm kidding. My question for Jex is, I'm sure we talked about it, but what are artists on your bucket list that you'd like to see in concert that are still around to see in concert?
Ooh, that's a good question. Thanks, Tim. Extreme always comes to mind, but they never come to Canada. Ever. Every time they release some dates, it's Europe, it's the States, everywhere. But never Canada. I'm sure they have a good reason, but I would love to see them locally if possible. I don't know. Maiden would be a nice band to see at least once. I've never seen Maiden. That would be cool. I've heard great things from people who've seen Maiden shows.
Yeah.
So Extreme, Maiden. Trying to think of bands that are still around.
I'm going to tell you one I hope you get to see is The Beaches.
The Beaches. Yeah, there we go. They're coming to Moncton in November. Actually, Matt Phillips is going. So, that'd be cool. I haven't checked into ticket prices, but they'd be cool to see.
Their new album, Blame My Ex, comes out 1 week from today.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know them until a few months back when you introduced me to them. I'm digging them.
Well, their new single, Blame Brett, I had to share it with you. It's just so good. It's so insanely catchy.
It is, yeah. Not normally my cup of tea. But I was surprised.
You are an open-minded man. I mean, look, you're wearing a Ramones shirt.
There you go. Man, that's a good question. Bands that are still around, nothing's coming to me other than Maiden. I guess there's always Metallica as well. Metallica
Yeah.
would be cool to see live.
Actually, I was just watching some of their stuff from when they played Montreal recently. And, although James's voice has changed, they still sound great. They really, I still like Metallica. And actually, you'll be reading, I haven't told you this. I decided to take on a big one, and I reviewed Injustice for All, and that review will be coming in the coming weeks. That's a monumental thing to review.
Yeah, I love that one. So yeah, those off the top of my head, Extreme, Maiden, Metallica, those would be cool. I mean, and AC/DC's been here like twice, and I never went. So, there's no.
Those are all bands I'd like to see. I'll throw the Darkness on my list as well.
Yeah, Darkness would be cool. Darkness would be cool. I didn't think about that. There you go, Tim. Thank you.
All right, well, let's look at some reading material, shall we? I believe you are recently acquainted with a fellow by the name of Michael Lefevre.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
That guy has a name built for rock and roll. His name literally is Michael the Fever. Like,
fun fact. Well, that is actually when I went to the University of Moncton. This was like 20 years ago when I first graduated. I was living in a dorm, and the building was called Lefevre.
There you go.
So, and I'm pretty sure it was spelled the same way. So yes,
folks. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, French name as far as I know, but who knows the true origin of it?
He is. I can't remember if he's born in England or born in the United States, but he's currently living in England.
Okay.
And Michael Lefevre, you guys know him as the 80s metal man. Yes. And he is currently working his way through 1989 on his website, 80s Metal Man. But he has written a couple of books. Rock and Roll Children, an account of heavy metal in the 80s. Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love that?
That's my cup of tea right there. That's my type of reading.
You know what? I just like every once in a while just pull out a paragraph and read it. Here he is talking about Kiss. Describe me a Kiss concert. Bruce Kulick on lead guitar, he shouted to the audience, who again cheered hysterically. Meanwhile, the other members of Kiss darted about the stage. Gene Simmons then took control of the microphone. All right, Philadelphia, he cried to the audience. Are we having fun now? So, Michael's got some great stories. He's seen a lot of bands. You can buy this directly from him, I believe. No, I think I got mine directly from him, but yeah, that's right. I tried to order it from Amazon and I had no luck. So I ordered it directly from Michael. So you can contact him on Facebook. But if you want to check out his website, he is the 80s Metal Man.
Awesome, man. I was listening to a Asylum tour bootleg yesterday. It's so funny what you're saying. It's so true. Like that's what Paul Stanley sounds like. The one I was listening to, he goes, what did he say? That was Bruce Morris Kulick on lead guitar.
Bruce Morris Kulick.
He says the full name, Bruce Morris Kulick.
And it's not like it's a really cool middle name.
But it works. I don't know.
I guess so.
Morris Kulick. It's better than my three middle names, which I'm not.
I don't know. I disagree with you there, but hey. Next up, actually, this isn't a music book, but I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Aaron Leibold. He has written some fiction, and I have two of his books, Genocide and It Must Be Here Somewhere, which is several short stories. This is more horror, graphic. This is hardcore stuff. This guy does not write for the weak.
Not for the
look at him. Look at him. Does he look like the kind of guy who writes for the weak? He is Freddy Krueger on his shirt. Anyway, but good guy, and I'm really proud of him. I've known him since he was like 15 years old. So
wow.
Really proud of you, man.
Right on.
Let's see. Oh, we've got to give a shout out here to Mr. Robert Lawson. Now, he's got 3 books out, and I'm missing his Guess Who book. But I do have hardcover Rasmus Naz, The Listener's Guide to Nazareth. Look at that cover.
That's really cool. Very cool. So is this like everything you need to know about Nazareth?
Dude, Robert knows his stuff. Now you're messing with LeBrain Train. Robert was on the LeBrain Train a couple of times.
Yes, I feel like I remember seeing his appearance.
Yeah, this is like everything you need to know about the band. Like he goes through album by album. So it goes through the whole history with a lot of research and a lot of detail. Robert knows his stuff. I haven't finished this book. Nazareth are not my band, really, but this other band that he wrote about, Cheap Trick. Now
yeah.
this one, I really liked. Cheap Trick are one of those bands that I like, but I'm not fluent in Cheap Trick. Not like Deke.
Right.
And it was Deke who brought Robert Lawson into our world. And there's actually, fun fact, and there's a picture in here of Robert when he was working with Sean Kelly at a record store.
What?
Yeah. A short-haired, I found it. Found the picture. So can you spot a short-haired Sean Kelly here with Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick? There's Bunny Carlos.
Yeah. It's back upper right.
You see him out there, right there. Sean Kelly. You can he's still got the smile, but there he is.
Yeah.
Still
That's
competition. Awesome. Again, album by album.
Nice. Busted. Yeah, I'm the same way as you for Cheap Trick. I love what I've heard. I've heard a few albums, a handful, but I don't know every single thing. So I'm still kind of working my way into their discography. So
I take a lot of crap because I got into Cheap Trick in the 80s. So my favorite Cheap Trick song is The Flame. Which
not well regarded by hardcore fans.
Yeah, Cheap Trick has a massive catalog, and Robert goes into so much detail here. Like, I was going through the book, and he's starting to talk about the rarities and the vinyl only and the download only and all this other stuff. And it's like, this guy, I've seen chunks of his CD collection as well. Really? Oh, isn't that nice? Just got Lawson's Cheap Trick book a few months ago after watching your interview with him. Thank you, Mike. Nice. That is awesome. Well, let's see. What else do we have here? This is a book that's not by a friend. I don't even think I've read this.
What is this? Oh, Nikki Sixx. No. Yes, Nikki Sixx. Yeah.
I don't even think I've read it yet. I don't remember reading this. I've got so many books I haven't read yet. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I do.
Autograph. I'm looking for the autograph. Where do they put it? Something like the Robert. There you go. 6. It took him less than a second. But something like the Robert Lawson book where he dedicates it, now you're messing with LeBrain Train. That's so much more.
Yeah, it's personalized. It's, yeah.
Here's another one that's signed by the author.
Okay.
A lot of these were gifts because people just get me, rock.
Yeah.
Mike likes rock. He likes Guns N' Roses. So they get me a lot of books that, I wouldn't have bought this. My impression is kind of like Steven Adler whines and blames a lot in this book.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while since I've read it, but that was my overall. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. This one, on the other hand, rest in peace, Mr. Peart.
Nice.
He has a lot of different books. The Ghost Rider and the Masked Rider are the two that I recommend the most.
I've never read anything by Neil, but I would love to because he's in his lyrical writings. You can tell he's such a poetic guy and he's got a way with words. And I'd love to see.
I like that song.
Yeah.
My exposure to Neil Peart's writing, aside from Rush liner notes, which were always almost like essays, he used to write articles for Maclean's magazine, travel stuff about his bike travels in Africa. And I remember opening up Maclean's magazine because my mom had a subscription, and there's an article in there by Neil Peart. And I'm like, I love this magazine. Oh, and I also forgot to show these. These are the Robert Lawson Guess Who book.
Oh, nice.
He sent me 2. Isn't that nice? One for each book. So yeah, I recommend over this one. I recommend. Depends on what you're in the mood for. The Masked Rider is a book about traveling Africa by bicycle. Ghost Rider is about his motorcycle journey after his wife and daughter died.
Right.
And he needed to escape. And it's about that, year and a half, 2 years of his life that he spent basically in the back of a motorcycle. Great read.
Heavy.
Not for the weak stomach because of what happened.
For sure.
This one's neat. This one was a gift from my sister, I believe.
Oh, sweet.
Now, the reason this one's neat is that it came out when John was still alive. You know, most of the books we read about the Beatles today are post John's death.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's interesting to read a book in the, you know, what's John doing now? You know, that kind of thing. Like,
right.
wow,
True.
you don't see that in most of the books that I have on the Beatles. And I have an extensive Beatles library. I don't know where most of my books are. They must be in storage. But this is a great book. Highly recommended if you can find it. I guess it's just called The Beatles. Yeah,
I have a similar one, as you'll see later down the line.
In the video we're about to show.
Correct.
Or not about to show, but that we will be showing
Later.
How could you resist the big book of hair metal?
Oh, man. Is that Martin Popoff?
You got it, buddy.
Nice. Yes,
got
I
it.
have a... Do I have that one?
I hope so.
I have a similar one. If it's not that one, it's a similar one.
I feel like I'm looking at the same kind of visuals that you would have found in the Tim Derling book.
Yes.
Maybe Martin used Matt Phillips.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Tim got inspiration, because I know he likes Martin Popoff as well.
Who doesn't? We're going to be seeing more Martin.
Good. Look at that.
Yeah. I don't even think I finished reading this book because, again, I've got so many books here. As you'll see, we're going to get through them. But Big Book of Hair Metal was a Toronto score.
Really?
Yeah. All right. Now I'm just going to reorganize myself here. Digging further into the box. Let's grab. No, I'll save that. I'll save that for closer to the end. Let's grab some here.
The tease.
The tease. This is two books. This is the same book, but two printings.
Oh, cool. Run to the Hills.
This is an excellent authorized biography. Now, this first one here, which unfortunately the cover got dog-eared on the way up. But this first one here came out when Blaze Bayley was still in the band. So it has a very different perspective from the second edition, which clearly has Bruce Dickinson back in the band. So this covers the reunion and what was said. And, you know, there are things that are said. You know, there are no punches pulled here.
Right.
And if I remember the story correctly, when Bruce left the band, it was kind of Dave Murray who rallied the band back and said, why the hell should we kick the can just because he left? Why don't we get another singer? You know, why don't we show them who's Maiden, you know? So apparently Dave Murray was really the guy. The only one who really has nothing negative to say about Bruce when he left the band is Yannick Gers. They were friends, obviously. There are some quotes by the other members of the band where they accuse Bruce of basically not putting in 110% on his final tour. So
it's worth having both editions, basically.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they edited anything out of this. Okay. I just find it interesting. You know, here's one when Blaze was still the singer in the band, and you know, they're looking forward to a future with Blaze on the Virtual 11 tour, and you know, they were doing that's graphics from their video game. That yes. I think that is that Ed Hunter or is that Melt? I think that's Ed Hunter, but Melt was a video game that they were trying to make that never came out. And there you go. We're both geniuses because Tim agrees. Well, you know, if you're going to be inspired, you might as well be inspired by something like that. Something really awesome like that.
Agreed.
Oh,
all right. What do you got next? What's in the bag?
Well, I'll tell you something, Mr. Russell. Woo!
I know where this is going. People.
No, it's not. I'm actually not trying to do Paul. I'm trying to do more like I don't know. Wow!
Oh.
Wow!
Oh, I didn't catch that at all. My bad.
Well, it was more me. I have a bad impression. You know, David Lee Roth being escorted out of the venue with two little people. He's got a thing for using little people in all of his art, and I don't know why. But he does, and he catch shit for it a lot too. But I won't get into that. He's literally pulling a boat through a swamp. He's as if he's like Fitzcarraldo, you know.
Only David Lee Roth.
Now
Only
I will
Dr.
point
Dave.
out only David Lee Roth. I will point out the print is rather large, which means you're not getting a lot of bang for your buck, and it's pretty light on the music, especially
really?
when it comes to solo. You know, it's Van Halen and it's stories. It's stories.
Drama?
Um,
Gossip?
no,
No. Really? Oh, that's good, I guess.
I'm just trying to find a good quote that I can pull out here. There's so many stories here. Meeting Helmut Newton. I don't remember who Helmut Newton is.
Name rings a bell.
This picture here is like a trash hotel room.
Wow.
And you know, just knowing Roth, you know that's half of that staged. There, look, it's called Rothing Your Room. You just know this guy stages these photos.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he didn't trash a hotel room. I'm just saying that maybe after he trashed it, he
Embellished,
right? Yeah. Now I'm going to do a better impression here. This singer is known for going.
Hold on. Of course. Nice.
Great book, really great. Again, I get the impression that no punches were pulled. When people were acting like shit, they get called out. One of the most interesting things here that I didn't know is they had issues with their manager, the guy who kind of brought them back in the 80s. I think his name was Tim Collins. But eventually he just became a problem. He became an impediment. And this is around, I think, the 9 Lives era of Aerosmith.
Okay.
And they had to let this Tim Collins guy go. And I was kind of surprised. It just kind of came out of nowhere, that story. I didn't know it. A little bit of graphics in here. Mostly this is covering the glory years, though.
Okay.
You know, we're like they hardly spend any time on the 9 Lives album at all.
No, I don't have that one.
Mostly about the glory years. Let me see. There is some stuff here. Tim Collins is quoted in this book. They're talking about that time when they signed with Sony in the 90s, and that was such a huge deal. This is a quote that I think Tim talked about with me last week. So we told this fucking guy, Dave, we'd like to help you out. Which way did you come in? Oh, man.
Who's the Dave you're talking about, I wonder?
I can't remember. Hey, Chris P., how you doing? Mike, it is wacky. It is all over the place. He's talking about, how much weed it takes to like come up with a good list. And always nice to see you. I understand that Chris P got some Def Leppard rarities recently.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't have that Aerosmith book. I do have Steven Tyler's autobiography. What's it called? Do the voices in my head bother you or something like that?
Yeah.
I started it twice. I have such a hard time getting into it. It's such a slow build-up. It's a tough one. I'll have to try it again sometime.
Chris, I got to get you on the show this winter. I know I keep saying that, but we got to get you on the show. He's got some Def Leppard rarities coming.
Well, Chris, yeah. I didn't recognize. I didn't know which Chris it was at first. Look at that golf monster.
I bought this one up here at the cottage. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, he talks about.
Is it actually about golf, or is it just
a lot about golf? But
really?
Obviously about music too.
Okay.
But he talks about how Tiger Woods holds his clubs. No, sir. No, do we want to get into this? I'm kind of just meh on Def Leppard right now. I'm sorry. I am just kind of meh on Def Leppard right now. You know where my stance was on the recent symphonic album. There's the original Alice Cooper band.
I'm meh on most of Def Leppard's discography anyway. So.
Oh, don't say that with Chris in the audience.
Not all of it. Not all of
it. Here's a book that I enjoyed. Although, with hindsight, I think these guys are dicks.
Yeah.
I remember reading it though.
Never read it. Never did read it. Heard a lot about it.
Did you watch the movie?
I didn't. I
Neither did
couldn't
I.
get myself. Really?
Yeah, neither did I. Meat Man watched it, and Meat Man said, I assume you're talking about the book, Chris. Meat Man said that I would have hated the documentary just because of the way things were said and staged, and he's like, Mike would hate this. He'd be calling out every factual error. But this is pretty cool. I mean, again, no punches pulled. Movie is excellent. Okay. This was the first time that Mick Mars opened up about his back problems. You know, I won't even attempt to pronounce
the name.
Disease. AS, I think, is the short phrase, but his back is fused into one bone essentially, and it's permanently curved like this. And this is the first time he talked about it. And he talks about other things like experiences with ghosts. And it's like Mick Mars is out there. He's definitely out there.
He's like the mystery man.
He is the mystery man. But there's a lot in here. You know, it's like the shroud is lifted on a lot of stuff. I would have preferred if they had more detail on certain things. But at least they don't skimp. Like John Corabi's a little bit in this book. And, you know, they let John Corabi have, you know, they let him bitch. As deservedly so.
All right. Yeah, that's one I keep forgetting about. I'll have to grab it next time I see it.
Now, this one here shouldn't have had the sticker on it. It's Marillion.
Okay.
The complete history. Now, there's another 21 years of history since then.
What a bargain. $8.
Yeah, I don't know how that sticker got on there. There we go. It's coming off nicely. And if I open it up, you can see all the art. Here's what's cool, is that this has basically all the different Marillion characters from their album art up to this point. So we have the Jester, and that's lifted from Script for a Jester's Tear. And there's the Soldier Boy from the Misplaced Childhood, and Torch. He was from the Clutching at Straws album cover. And then we have on this side the girl with their head on fire from the Radiation album. The girl with the laptop from the Marillion.com album, and Barry from Anoraknophobia. Great book. What I don't like is the way it's organized, where they have all these little paragraphs in the middle of the text.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of decide when you're stopping and reading those.
I wouldn't like that either.
I like continuity. Here's one thing that shocked me. Jonathan Mover. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a drummer. Jonathan Mover was hazed pretty hard by the lead singer Fish. And the lead singer Fish is accused of making anti-Semitic comments in this book, which is very shocking considering that he wrote a song on the Clutching at Straws album that addresses and condemns anti-Semitism.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the recommendation. Is that Greg Renoff? Oh, good night, Chris. Jonathan Mover from GTR, yeah. And apparently he was hazed quite badly by Fish. Accusations. But this is an interesting book, and Marillion are one of those bands that had a split, and they have an A period and a B period, and people have their preferences, and some people love them all, but some people only like the original singer, and that's fine.
I'm still new to Marillion because of you, Mike. You told me about them, and I'm like, I gotta check out this band. I like what I heard.
You know, I've got so many books here by friends. Let's give Dale Sherman a shout out. Are you friends with Dale Sherman?
I don't know. I can't say I know who he is. I don't know.
Dale Sherman is a diamond of a man.
Really?
He has written some of the best books about Kiss. Black Diamond 1 and 2 are two of my favorite. He's written more, but Black Diamond 1 and 2 are my favorites. This one here comes with an exclusive interview with Eric Carr. This interview with Eric Carr has been used as a source for so many things. Dale is the guy who got me looking for a Japanese copy of The Elder, because Dale's the guy who revealed to me that the Japanese version of The Elder had a slightly different mix and a slightly different track listing.
Really?
And then with this book, similar format, he got me looking for Alice Cooper singles. You know?
Cool.
Like,
Wait,
oh,
so
crap.
did you ever find that Japanese version of The Elder?
Didn't have to. It was reissued on official CD when they did the remasters.
Okay.
So
that's
if you have in your collection an original print of The Elder on CD, you get the original mix that was released in North America. If you get the remastered edition, you get the Japanese mix, which has the songs in the correct order. The concept album starts to make more sense.
yes.
It's supposed to start with fanfare.
Yeah.
It's not the opening track, The Oath, comes near the end.
Yeah.
Dale Sherman, ladies and gentlemen, he is such a nice guy. I'm telling you.
Nice.
He's written a lot of books. I think I might have more in here, but oh man, we'll see. My arm, sorry. Here's another book by someone I know, someone I've met. Tim and I were just discussing this.
Give me an R. By
Brian Vollmer of Helix.
Oh, Brian Vollmer himself.
Yes.
Nice.
This, for all Helix fans, is absolutely essential. He sheds a lot of light on stuff we didn't know about from the Helix history. You know, they kind of, I'm not going to say they disappeared, but they had a very low profile after the 1993 album, A Business Doing Pleasure. They put out a Half Alive album in 97 or 98, but, you know, there wasn't a lot of activity. And this was a band that was releasing albums every couple of years before that. And he kind of, you know, talks about the touring lineups of Helix that he had just to keep the band going. And there's tons of pictures here. And what's wild here is that there's a photograph in here, and I won't be able to find it just randomly. But I went to school with this kid named Ian Johnson. Ian Johnson was a notorious liar. He told the kids at school that he helped George Lucas write the Star Wars prequels. This is 1984, long before the Star Wars prequels were coming out. But what he did,
15 years before.
You know what he did? He was so smart. He pulled stuff out of the Marvel comics and fed it to us. And he's like, yeah, and there's a scene where Han Solo is getting attacked by stone mites. And I'm like, stone mites? That sounds really cool. Freaking 20 years later, I find stone mites in Star Wars comics. And I'm like, that fucking guy. Anyway, Ian Johnson told us that Brian Vollmer lived 3 doors down from his house, which was a fact.
What?
Was a fact. I confirmed this with Vollmer. And there was one other thing. Is that he claimed Vollmer showed him a Christmas card that came from Wasp. And I remembered one thing about the Christmas card was instead of the line dashing through the snow, it was slashing through the toes. Sure enough, there's a picture of that fucking Christmas card in this book. Either that or it was on his website. I might be mixing that up, but I'm okay. The point is, Ian Johnson wasn't lying.
Well, see, it's the little boy who cried wolf. You didn't know when he was telling the truth.
Right, exactly. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to try to stick to the best stuff. Do you own any official screenplays?
No, I don't. I wish
this one isn't an official screenplay, but it has because this movie didn't have a screenplay, so to speak. But
I was gonna say, isn't it like improvised, like 90%?
90%. But if you want to read Spinal Tap, it's right here. David, Philly's a great town. Ian, rest assured that the album will be available through all the Philadelphia metropolitan area. It's all here, plus tons and tons of stuff, facts, regulars, see name changes, originals, So you know we're talking comedy here as well.
Yeah.
Get my phone on speakers. Some color. Nice. Now I have no idea about the availability of these books now.
Right.
But I got this brand new, and it's fantastic. I learned so much about Spinal Tap's discography that I wasn't aware of. Like they had single B-sides that I wasn't aware of. Christmas with the Devil.
Right.
Hang on a second here. lyrics.
Hellhole, look at that.
Yeah. So, like, seriously, guys,
Uh,
this is essential. This is an essential
I
companion.
love that movie so much. I love the soundtrack too. Like they actually make good music.
They
And
do.
they fooled the public. They fooled the public into thinking they were a real band.
I thought they were a real band. We can talk about that further. Maybe we'll do a show on fictional bands one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought they were a real band. Now here's a guy that was the lead singer of like 3 good real bands.
Gillen.
4. This is a second edition. I actually had the original, which the original was from 1993. I don't think I have it anymore. And the cool thing about the original is that it was written during the Battle Rages on reunion. And you can tell that Ian is, you know what I'm trying to say. He's not necessarily into this reunion. This is written well after they got Steve Morse.
Okay.
And it's a different perspective. This is a better read. The first book is I don't think there was any ghostwriting. I think he wrote this because it's just not very normal. It jumps around and he uses strange language but he talks about getting fired from Deep Purple. And apparently he got drunk one night, got naked somehow, found a couple of garbage bags, put the garbage bags over his feet, walked back to Deep Purple's hotel room and passed out, just crashed onto a glass table. And apparently even his friend Roger Glover said to him, Ian, you've gone too far this time. And they fired him.
Wow.
Yeah. There's also a nice metaphor in here that I like.
Classic rock star behavior.
Classic rock star behavior, but there's a good metaphor here I like. He describes Deep Purple as a beautiful plate of food that's been prepared by, an expert chef and presented beautifully. That plate of food is Deep Purple. And Richie Blackmore and Ian Gillan are the fork and the knife on either end.
Great metaphor.
It's a great metaphor. That's a wonderful book. People need to read that if they like Deep Purple. But I'm going to get to what I think is the absolute best book that I own as far as music goes, because we are getting to that point of the show. Folks, there are a few books here that I would say are by undisputed geniuses. Neil Peart is an undisputed genius. Think Frank Zappa falls in this category. And this is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Only about half of it's actually about music. He gets into parenting and life and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Variety is good.
Variety is good.
Spice of life.
But, it's been a while since I've opened this book, but I used to find it eminently quotable. And I'll just see if I can find it. Oh, interesting. He puts things in bold a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of something I do. I've noticed in my writing. I bold stuff, right? Put stuff in italics. Yeah.
I'm going to start doing it more. There's sketches. He's one of the most interesting things that I found about this book. He's talking about the art of making albums. And he says, the albums that you hear in your ears would be impossible to recreate in a room, because the way the album is mixed with the guitars in a certain place at a certain volume and the drums in a certain place in a certain way, mic'd this way and that way, there's no way to recreate that sound that you hear in a mixed album in a 3D space. And that was interesting to me. It occurred to me that, when you listen to an album that's an entirely artificial creation, there's double tracking and things like that. It occurred to me, that's profound to me. This is a brilliant book. This is an absolutely brilliant book. And only Frank can
Interesting.
That
almost looks like a Robert Crumb drawing.
It does. I don't know. Maybe who knows? Maybe it was.
That could be.
I'm just trying to find a really good quote that I can use. Okay, well, I'll just grab one here. I find the music of the classical period boring because it reminds me of painting by numbers. There are certain things composers of that period were not allowed to do because they were considered to be outside the boundaries of the industrial regulations which determined whether a piece was a symphony, a sonata, or whatever. And he's right. That's what a lot of people were driven away from classical music. That's why a lot of them were.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I brought this even though it's not a music book because it's an essential. It's an essential. I'm a Lebowski. You're a Lebowski. This
So
is.
Is it just like a behind the scenes? Or?
This is a resource. This is a resource. This is about the making of the book. This is about interviewing the people who were involved. This is about Lebowski Fest or whatever they call it, where all these people just gather dressed as Lebowskis. Here it is. First annual Big Lebowski What Have You Fest.
How crazy is it that that movie is 25 years old this year?
Is it really?
Yeah, 98.
Well, that's just like your opinion,
man.
Interview with Tara Reid.
All right. Isn't she only in the movie for like a minute?
She was in the movie for a minute, but she was the character that drove the plot because she's the one that was kidnapped.
Right.
Oh, they're gonna kill that poor woman. John Goodman, man. John Goodman. How much time do we have left? We have 15 minutes. Okay. This one's got a buddy of mine in it. I haven't read it yet.
What is
Kiss
this?
Philosophy. Kiss and Philosophy.
Wiser Than Hell.
Wiser Than Hell. My buddy Rob Vukovich wrote a chapter in here. Let's find it. I went to high school with Rob, although he was a couple years older than me. There it is. Robert S. Vukovich, page 127. He was a couple years older than me, but he was notorious when I was in grade 10. They did a air band. Remember air bands? When kids get up on stage and they mime a song.
Just like yeah.
We had an air band competition. It was 1 week every year. And his air band did "Don't Take Me Down Slow and Easy." And he was David Coverdale, and they got disqualified because he was doing the mic stand the way Coverdale did. And they thought that he was simulating masturbation a bit too much. And he got disqualified. But I guess he had the last laugh because he wrote a chapter called Excess. I love it. And I'm just going to have to read that at some point. I'm way, way, way behind in my reading. Robert S. Vukovich, my buddy, high school, Kiss and Philosophy.
That's cool. That looks like a rarity.
Here's some pop-offs.
Pop-off time.
Wow. Oh. Now, he always, if I buy them direct from Martin, I'm going to read these. He always does little interesting dedications in the front. So this one I obviously got direct from Martin because it says, "To Michael, yours, all yours, Martin Popoff." Which, for those who don't know, is a spoof of Mine, All Mine. My favorite album of all time.
Oh, cool.
Black Sabbath's Born Again.
Yes.
And this one must have got this off Amazon because there's nothing written in there.
Yeah, that would be cool because that's the underappreciated era of Sabbath, the 80s and 90s. Like after Dio, all those albums kind of get overlooked, but I love them. I love Born Again, just like you do.
I'm going to have to get Peter Kerr on at some point to discuss Born Again.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a great book. That's a great book. I really thoroughly enjoyed this.
What is it? Top of the
bill.
Top of the bill. Nice.
And this one has a dedication in gold pen. To Michael, I really had a book out. Oh, that's great.
The puns on this guy.
Oh, yeah. Martin does not like Hysteria. We've talked about this in the past, but I love his review of it anyway.
Yeah.
It's so good.
We're almost eye to eye on Hysteria, him and I. Almost. It's not quite a 0 for me, but
well, we might have to have words at some point. Oh, I love Black Sabbath.
There you go.
An illustrated history. So, you're getting things to look at. There's so much good stuff in here. This is such an essential resource to understanding the crazy history of Black Sabbath. And it is a crazy history. Lead singer after lead singer after lead singer. Yes, we showed that off near the top of the show, Chris. It is really good. Okay, and
here we go. Here we go.
Another illustrated history. I like these illustrated histories.
Yes, and that's a pop-off as well?
This is a pop off as well. I think there's still more pop off to go, but yeah, there's one more. Actually, I am going to make it through this whole box, which is nice.
Oh yeah, we got time.
Well, since we are going to make it through the whole box, check out these funny ones. It's literally a bathroom reader, but it's helpful because, you know, it tells you things about health.
Like you should be concerned if
right, you should be concerned if you have a spaghetti poo. I don't know, like this is one. This is one that I actually I stole it. I stole this book.
Mike,
but
steal it.
I'll tell you what I did. I love this guy, by the way, and he's also a musician. Les Stroud, Survivor Man. Okay. I will tell you what I did. This is 5 years ago when we were saying goodbye to Jen's mom in the hospital and visiting her every day. This was one of the books in the waiting room, and this is I gravitated toward it. I love survival stuff. I love reading about how to make a fire and how to find, you know, drinking water. So a few days later, I returned to the hospital with a gigantic shopping bag full of my own books that I didn't want anymore. I had a 3-volume set on Elvis Presley that Aaron gave to me. So I left about 7 or 8 books in the waiting room, and I took this one. Okay. I have no guilt, no shame.
So it was like a trade. It
was a trade. I mean, those books are all donations anyway, so I donated. Man, I've got another book by a guy I know, Mr. Brent Jensen, No Sleep Till Sudbury. You know Brent.
Right, yeah.
This is an essential book.
Is Brent, he's a Thursday Night Record Club.
You got it, man, with Alex Huard.
Yes.
Good friend of Deke's. Well, of course, you know, a lot of these guys, Deke introduced us. Sean Kelly, Deke introduced us. Not a lot of graphics here, but we do have Kick-Axe. Kick-Axe came. The 3 recollections I have of them are that, 1, the drummer had these unusually long tubular drums in his IoT kit. I remember that. The band played a smashing cover of Humble Pie's 30 Days in the Hole. Yep. And 3, the singer's name was George. Also true. And Deke just had Larry Gilstrom from Kick-Axe on the distortion band. So
any mention of Kick-Axe, is fine by me.
Absolutely. Oh, here's another Dale Sherman, the Mel Brooks FAQ.
Oh, love Mel Brooks.
Absolutely. Dale's such a nice guy. He's done a Tarantino as well, I believe.
Really? You know, a lot of people will say that Blazing Saddles is his best. I love Spaceballs myself, but also an underrated movie of his is Silent Movie.
I love Silent Movie.
Hilarious, right?
That was my first Mel Brooks that I can remember.
Really?
Marty Feldman. Feldman. I used to call him Googly Eyes.
Yeah.
But he was so... yeah, I undonated a book. Thank you, Chris.
But he donated a bunch.
Yeah, I got to get that too. Here's some Martin Popoff for you. The first.
Oh, Riff Kills, man. Yeah. Now, I need to get a copy of that.
When I worked at the record store, this book was given to me as a gift by a customer.
Nice.
And I originally had a copy that was loaned to me by a friend named Tom Morwood, founder of Sausage Fest. And he's like, yeah, you know, he's bang on for some things. He's kind of off by a few other things, but you know, he talks about bands that you want to read about, like Max Webster and all these bands. Yeah. I know Martin has kind of like disowned this book.
Really?
But yeah, he's grown as a writer, obviously.
Of course.
But Tim and I, there's certain things in here that we find classic, and I'm just going to warn Chris to plug your ears real quick, okay? A heaping pile of chemical and bacterial hospital smells. Def Leppard's latest affront to all that walks, talks, defecates, and pays the bills causes personal internal illness heretofore unidentified by modern science. That's him talking about Adrenalize.
Yeah, I'd love to find a copy of that book. It's probably out of print at this point.
It is. Yeah. It is out of print. And I highly doubt he will ever reissue it. Yeah. Hey, and I'm not going to ask him. He sure did put a lot of effort into those words, though. That was an effortful sentence, you know?
He wanted to get a message across, and he did. Oh, speaking of Sean Kelly.
His second appearance tonight. This is not his first book. He also has, Metal on Ice, which I can't find my copy of.
Uh-oh.
I have a feeling I left it at Sausage Fest a couple years ago.
Man. And this one's fairly new. This was released earlier this year.
Yeah, a few months ago.
Yeah, that's another one I need to get a copy of. So
Yeah.
many books, so little money.
It's not just personal stories. It's an argument, you know? It's defending the genre of music that we love.
Yeah, that's good. Somebody has to.
All right,
Right?
the very last book that I'm showing off tonight, and it is a little dusty because, well, I confess, never read it.
I'm intrigued.
Here's the dedication to Mike. You better read every single word. I do not understand a word of The Improvising Musician's Mask, using musical instruments to build self-confidence and social skills in collective free improvisation by Dr. Catherine Ladano. This is the book. This is the dissertation that made her the doctor.
Dr. K herself.
This is the book that changed her from Catherine Ladano to Dr. Catherine.
Dr.
Ladano.
Catherine.
This was my birthday gift in 2018. I'm not going to understand any of this.
Can you read us a little passage?
Yes, there's diagrams.
Look at that.
She had to defend this dissertation, you know. I think it was like a 2 or 3 hour defense, something like that.
Wow.
Oh my God. I don't even know where to start here.
Did you ever have her on the show to talk about the book?
No, we haven't talked about this. The 5th exercise in this study involved participants improvising while wearing facial masks. That's interesting. The exercise was intended to see whether or not participants would feel greater security while performing while masked, and whether or not this would affect feelings of inhibition. As with the darkroom exercise, this exercise provided a different type of masking for participants, with one another's face obscured from view. It was expected that, like in theater, performers would find wearing physical masks allowed them to express themselves differently, potentially. You see where I'm going?
Man, I'm picturing like an orchestra with like, you got a Darth Vader over here, you got a Yoda over there. You know?
I would love that. Meanwhile, I was more picturing scenes from Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, you went there.
Oh, Sean's book is brilliant. He's such a great writer. And then he's commenting about the Dr. Catherine's dissertation here.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, Martin, how many books does he actually have out at this point?
Oh, hard to say. I'd say about 50 for sure, but I can't say if it's under 100. It's probably under 100. But,
under 100. Think of that, folks. Under 100. This is a guy that's like 56 or something like that, and he's got under 100 books.
Yeah.
Think about that, folks.
Yeah. I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know how close to 100.
I think that's where I was thinking as well. Right? He's like the Isaac Asimov of heavy metal. And those who know what I'm talking about know Isaac Asimov had like 300 books to his name.
Oh, wow.
So, Martin, we love you, man. He's been on the show, and he was always a delight. I think our King's X show that we did was one of the best that we've ever done.
That was a good one. I'm a King's X fan, so I was happy to see that. So was Martin and you guys. And yeah, I love that Martin he's game. He'll go on people's show and make appearances, and he just looks laid back and really cool guy.
He is. And I still get so much anxiety just because for the hero worship,
Well, yeah, because you've read his books, you've been reading his books for years. So,
dude, I copied his style so much when I first started reviewing. Riff Kills Man. I would steal terminology from Riff Kills Man. I would try to find ways to like rip albums apart the way that he ripped apart Hysteria. But I've never ever come close to what I read. That was one sentence that I read you. Yeah. I've never come close to that.
Right.
Chris, thus I have trouble writing 100 words alone. Yeah. Well, what do we have to plug? We've plugged Tim Derling. What do you got coming up on Distortion Den?
Well, geez, we kind of took a hiatus. We took about a month and a half off now. We just kind of taking it easy, Deke and I. We needed a break, so we're gonna resume. We're talking about mid-September. We haven't talked. I think the next episode we had lined up was the Cult Electric going up against GNR Appetite for Destruction.
Is that a spoiler?
No, I'm allowed to talk about it.
Okay. I never know. I never want to spoil other people's shows.
No, because we actually had like our schedule advertised. So all the titles, like all the upcoming episodes have been revealed. But But yeah, whether or not, I think we're going to start filming again in mid-September. I gotta message him, but that's what's going on there. And I got my my WordPress is up and running for anyone who cares to check that out. Had a new story up today. I try to keep it to once a week, sometimes twice, usually on Fridays. And that's about it, man. That's about it.
Well, you don't just have a WordPress. That's not all you have going on. You also have a YouTube channel, Cinebros Supreme.
Yes.
And I know you haven't really invested a lot of time into the channel in recent months.
No.
But a couple of weeks ago you did the Plaw reunion video, which was great. And
Right.
you have an older one here from 2016, and this is your book collection at that time.
Yes.
And we're gonna go out on that video, which you can watch on his YouTube channel, Cinebros Supreme.
Yeah, and what I can do here, I can actually do some commentary, right? Because I think some books have been added, some books I think I got rid of, so I'll be able to. Can I do that?
I think so. I was assuming you were going to be logging off though, because we've been an hour.
Oh, well, my ride's only coming here in a half hour, so I have time.
Okay, so we're going to run this video, and I think the way it's going to work is we'll be on the side of the screen here, and yeah, you'll be able to comment.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so if this works correctly, this is Jex Russell's book collection circa 2016.
Prepare for the hair. Hey, what's going on, YouTubers and YouTubettes? Jex Russell back again, coming at you from our new home. My wife Rebecca and I, we just moved into this new apartment. As I mentioned, I think in my latest video I mentioned how we were moving soon. Well, it finally happened on Sunday, May 1st. We moved here. We're May 5th right now, in case you're wondering. We're still living there. Yeah, so far so good, and I'm sure a lot of you collectors are like this too. One of the first things I unpacked was my music, my records.
First thing I unpacked too.
All my CDs in the other room too. Packed on a shelf. Those were the first boxes I went to. But yeah, so far so good. The place is still a little cluttered. We're not fully settled in. It's only been a couple days, like I mentioned. But no, we're really happy here. We like it here. So yeah, the purpose of this video is I haven't unpacked my books. That's what I was planning on doing next. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take out the camera, I'm going to start rolling, and I'm going to show off my books, because I've been wanting to show off my music-related books for a while now. That's a video I've been wanting to do, and you're too kind. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I thought, what better time than now, since I'll be unpacking them, I could show them off as I'm unpacking. So let's do this. I have a feeling a lot of you guys are going to get a kick out of these, some of them at least. All right. I haven't watched this in a long time, number one. I don't really know what to expect. I'm going in.
Well, apparently you had to use an X-Acto knife here.
Oh yeah, those
those
boxes were taped, man. Pre-open these, but whatever. All right, so box number one. Where to start? This one I actually showed off in a video a few months ago. This is the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Really cool book. I haven't really read into it yet.
Hardcover.
I haven't had it that long, but it has some great photographs. That was in the clearance at Chapters. $2. It was $2. My local Chapters, so I was obviously not going to pass up on this. Cool. Couldn't remember if I mentioned it. Oh, jeez. An oral visual history by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I am a huge Chili Peppers fan. I have been for about a decade now. I can't talk. I love the Chili Peppers, and I try to get everything Chili Peppers related as I can. And this one just has a bunch of photographs looking a little like the Beatles right there. I love stuff like this. Most of my book collection, I forgot to mention this, but I'm not a big reader by any means. I just reading for fun. What's that about? No, I'm kidding, but it's not one of my hobbies, but something I do love is just biographies, pretty much music-related biographies, and just trivia books. Trivia's about music, movies, anything pop culture related. I love that stuff. So most of my book collection, that's what it consists of. It's either biographies or just trivia. This is going to be tough. They keep falling all over the place. Another cool one, the official Metallica Illustrated Chronicle, So What? The Good, the Mad, and the Ugly. Actually, I found this at Value Village for $7.99, so I definitely wasn't going to leave that behind. What this is, So What was the name of their fan club magazine, if I'm not mistaken, And this is kind of a best of the best from the articles from that magazine. And it's really interesting. It's what I love about these books is that you don't have to read them from beginning to end. You can just kind of open it anywhere and just read. So that's my favorite thing. Cool.
Books you can just open.
This is sadly it's not the era of Metallica that I like. This is I think late '90s, early 2000s maybe, but it's still cool. It's still Metallica, right? And there's a cool tribute to Cliff Burton at the beginning, which I thought was very nice. So yeah, this was another Value Village purchase again for $7.99.
I got rid of this
Cobain,
one.
The Journals. There's a lot of like
couldn't do it.
And poems.
Too dark, much too dark for me.
And I like how it's this is the hardcover edition, and I like how it's made to look like a notebook.
That I like.
That's cool.
That's cool touch.
I haven't read a lot much in here. It's just that it's anyone who knows Kurt Cobain, it's very dark, very depressing, and morbid. It's and anyone who knows me, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, very energetic, and it's just very hard to read. But I do like Kurt Cobain. I do like his music, so I wasn't gonna leave this behind for $7.99. But yeah, it's very dark.
I had to get rid of it. I don't really listen to Nirvana.
Another one I've talked about before, The Art of Metal. Very cool. I won't talk too much about it since I already have in the past. But yeah, just a bunch of cool posters and album covers, and
highly recommend this. That looks great.
Okay, but yeah,
I love that
essential
book.
for any heavy metal fan.
Yeah, it's all. So any album covers, posters.
Anyone who watches Scott Waters' channel, he recently showed off a package that I sent him, and I actually sent him this Black Sabbath, The Vault, coffee table book. When I found this, I thought it was so cool that I bought myself a copy and I bought Scott a copy because I had a feeling he would get a kick out of it. And actually, that reminds me, I believe today is Bill Ward's birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Ward.
Bill Ward, who wasn't on that book cover.
On the cover
exactly.
Here. Let's find a good.
They took him off.
Find a good picture of Bill. I always like this one, Mr. Ward, right there. I like that picture because you don't see him smiling very often.
Right. What I hate is how Black Sabbath
ignores. Like I said, I bought Scott a copy. I bought myself a copy because I thought it was so cool. And at the time, all I had to send Scott was an Asia single. I'm like, well, I can't send him just a 45. So when I found this book, I'm like, there you go. So yeah, if you guys can find a copy of this, it is amazing. It comes with a lot of goodies. So yeah, Black Sabbath.
So many things I forgot I had.
Another cool one, Led Zeppelin. This is kind of like a biography, just like a photo biography. Just a bunch of cool pictures of the band.
Led Zeppelin.
A discography, stuff like
Led
that. And I found this for $1 at a bookstore back home in New Brunswick. So, yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Covers with a little water damage, but for $1 I wasn't gonna pass it up.
No, definitely not. What's next? What's in the box?
The next two are pretty cool.
Okay. I used to have that.
Ozzy Osbourne autobiography. This book is amazing. I recommend it to anyone who's an Ozzy fan or even just a music fan. This book is awesome, and it is crazy. Like, as you can imagine, this guy has been through it all. Like, he's done every drug imaginable, and it's a very, very entertaining book. And obviously, as I'm reading it, I can't help but hear his voice saying the story in my head, which makes it that much better.
That's the case for any book I read.
Ozzy.
Well, I'll hear the author's voice. Me too.
Trust me, I'm Dr. Ozzy.
I got rid of that.
Another good one.
Did you?
This is different though. It's not an autobiography. What this one is, it's this was a chronicle or an article. I forget what magazine or paper, but there was a newspaper that had this column. That's the word I was looking for. A column where you can send in your letters and ask Ozzy Osbourne like medical questions, and he would answer them. And some of his answers are just downright hilarious.
It's more of a novelty.
I highly recommend this one. It is.
I kind of wondered if that was ghostwritten myself, but I don't claim to know.
Oh yeah, and it's another book that you can just you don't have to read it from beginning to end. You can just kind of open it and read one of the columns. So yeah, trust me, I'm Dr. Ozzy. Highly recommended by Dr. Jex. All right.
Oh yes.
Story of Anvil.
Yes.
You guys know I'm a huge fan of Anvil. I have a video where I tell a story how I saw them in concert. They were great. They were awesome. They were super nice. And this is their book. It is not quite like the movie of the same name,
No, it's not.
Anvil, the Story of Anvil, documentary. Absolutely love that movie. I couldn't recommend it enough. This is it's different though. It's from a whole other perspective. Like the movie kind of depicts, how they haven't been able, to gain popularity, and they're working on a new album, and and you kind of go through each band member. But this one here, it really goes through their whole history, how they met, how they became Anvil, the stuff they had to go through in the early days, and just going on and just sticking to their guns. It's really good. I mean, you see a lot of that in the movie too, but this is just a lot more. They put the emphasis on it a lot more in here, and another great read. I highly recommend it.
Made my mother-in-law watch that movie,
What
and I
else
believe
we got here?
Lips is stark
VHS
naked in it.
tapes.
How did that go?
Anthony Kiedis, sorry, Scar Tissue. Anthony Kiedis, of course, the front man from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mentioned I am a huge Chili Peppers fan. I really got into the Peppers in about 2006 when Stadium Arcadium came out, and I just fell in love with that album and started getting all of their other albums, and I was an instant fan. And that same year, my parents got me this for my birthday, and I've read it a few times since. I think I read it like 3 times. It's just I don't know what it is about this book, but I
That was
love
a
it.
triple album, wasn't it? Stadium Arcadium.
It gets me every time.
double.
It's so good.
Double.
He's such a good storyteller and a lot of good stories, and yeah, Scar Tissue.
Yeah, that's an
Excellent
addictive
read.
book. That was
That's
the first
cool.
time I couldn't put it down. That was the
Little
first time
ones
it
here.
happened to me.
So these are
Yeah.
the 100 best-selling albums of the
Okay.
70s,
Yep.
the 80s, and the 90s.
CD
This
size.
is a cool little
Yeah.
series here. Picked these up at HMV years ago, and it's just so interesting. So yeah, it just says in the title, it's the best-selling albums of those decades, and it's cool. Every page is like album cover, and then there's just a small story and history on the album and trivia. It's really, really great. I love stuff like this. Like I said, I love trivia, and yeah,
Awesome.
these are
Blasted.
great.
Bastard.
Look,
Blasted.
each decade. 80s. I think the 80s one was the first one I picked up
Ah,
at HMV, and then
it's like I
wanted to go
recognize
pick up the other
every
ones, so
single
they stopped
cover
selling
that
for a
you're
while,
flipping
right?
through.
and then
Every
months
single
later,
one.
They had the
Yeah.
rest of the series, so I picked them all up.
It's-
80s.
Everyone knows every one of those albums.
90s.
Oh, yeah. They were
Oh
best
yes,
selling.
and these
Probably one of
too.
my least favorite, though, because a lot of the albums on here,
Garth.
like Garth Brooks,
Garth.
Kenny G.
These are striking
some of
album
the stuff I
covers.
listen to. I'm like, there was a
Oh,
lot better
yes,
albums than that. in the
Aguilera.
90s. Like, what is this?
Creed.
But yeah,
Not the best era, but you know.
best-selling albums.
The weakest of the 3 eras there.
Yeah.
Look at that. I try to stick it to the music-related stuff. Oh, this is a cool one. This is a brick. Punk 365.
Oh,
Just
the punk,
Again, going
like
through
1 page a
various
day.
punk bands.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
365 pages, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, different band for every page. It's awkward to hold up. But yeah.
Yeah, it's an awkward shaped
I
book.
discovered a lot of
Yeah.
bands through this book. I'm a huge punk fan. I have been since I was a teenager. So a lot of bands I'd never heard of. A lot of bands I had heard of, like the Dickies. They're awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a cool book. What else we have in here? The Screamers, Helen Killer, The Dictators, Venus and the
Hey, I'm
Razorblades,
listening to King's
Ronnie
X.
Bingenheimer and Debbie
I was
Harry.
wondering what it was.
Nice.
It is, yeah, okay, King's X, yeah.
Yeah, Lost in Germany.
So,
I was like,
so many bands.
what is that?
So yeah, Punk 365.
Germany!
Only the Good Die Young. This is really
Oh, another
cool.
Cobain.
Again, gotta
Yeah, I
give
got rid of that one
all the
too.
chapters.
I got rid of that one too.
It's
So
just
far, 2 books I don't have
from
anymore.
musicians that died at a young age. You know, they.
It's
the
so
infamous
depressing.
20,
I don't need that.
What is it? 27 Club.
Encyclopedia of Dead Rock Stars.
But yeah, this is just cool. Again, it's kind of a depressing read, but informative nonetheless.
I got rid of anything like
Last
that
one,
in my collection,
sorry, there's 2
honestly.
left in this
Yeah.
box. Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
Another one.
This is the Jimi
Got rid of that
Hendrix,
one, too.
Biography
Damn.
by David Henderson. I actually never read this one. I just picked it up at a used bookstore, found it for a good
I
price.
figured I was never going to read it, so I just parted with
I
it.
wasn't gonna pass it up. There's a few cool pictures here. The young Jimi Hendrix right there. Military man. Yeah. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Gonna have to read that eventually.
Okay, now is the last one in this box.
Okay.
This SMF Captain Howdy is gonna get a kick out of this, I think. This is not
Look at
The
that.
Beatles, but it's Les Beatles. Yes, this is a French book.
Really?
I do speak French. So yeah, I found this at a local library. Was having a book sale years ago.
Very
over
similar
a
to the one
decade.
I have.
So
That's what I'm saying,
this is
right?
Cool. Has a lot of great photos in here. Again, this is just awkward to hold up. I hope you guys can see that okay. We have great photos, great history. Yeah, I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I probably no more than $1.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious to know what year that was
Yeah.
Published, because I think John was still alive.
The
just
Cap
like-
has been on a Beatles kick lately, so I thought you'd appreciate this, buddy.
Beatles kick.
French
Yeah.
Beatles book. All right, now I'm not sure if I have. Whoa! You good? I'm good. Okay. I'm not sure if I have anything else left in this box, but let's see.
Oh, then good ass shot there.
Yeah, I know.
Ooh.
You're
Again, I apologize
welcome.
for not opening
Jeez,
these
Jex.
at the time, but
First we have topless.
whatever. We're having fun, right? We're hanging out. How you been? You good? Yeah, me too. All right.
I got way too much energy for my.
these are mostly
present self.
movie-related books. I think that was it for my music-related books.
This is pre-children.
I got stuff here like, oops.
Oh.
Oops, movie mistakes that made the cut, and the sequel, oops, they did it again. More movie
I love
mistakes that
stuff
made
like
the
that.
cut.
That's great.
It just focuses on like continuity and just movie mistakes, and it tells you exactly at what point in the movie to look for them. It's really cool. I'm a geek when it comes to stuff like that.
Me too. I like that.
Movies, filmmaking, so I love stuff like that. What's that from? This is just a collection of movie quotes. 101 cult movies. Yeah, this is really great. But okay, this is all the movie-related books, so I won't go into the maybe for a separate video. But I wanted to focus mostly on the music-related stuff. So I hope you guys got a kick out of these listening to me talk. Again, I just love talking about music-related stuff with you guys. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And until next time, peace out. Later.
All right, so overall, it was pretty current. There was a 3 I counted that I no longer have, the 2 Kurt Cobains and the Jimi Hendrix one. The Jimi Hendrix, I figured I'm never going to take the time to read this. So there are some that I've added since, actually quite a bit. Mustaine's autobiography, that's just called Mustaine.
Yeah.
I have the Sebastian Bach autobiography, which I really love. That's another one I couldn't put down. Again, you hear his voice when you're reading.
Man.
What else? I have a hair metal book somewhere. I must have gotten it a bit after that video was shot. I can't remember if it's the same one you have, but I'll have to dig it out because I remember that was a cool one.
Technically, I have 2. I've got Popoff and I've got Sean Kelly.
Yeah. It looks a lot like the Pop-Off one specifically. I have to dig. I forget what it's called, but I do have a hair metal book somewhere. The Steven Tyler one. So yeah, other than that, that's the pretty current. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I always tend to get books for Christmas, so I'm sure we'll be seeing more books on the show in the coming months.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm hoping I'm going to have Rob Daniels and Jason Drury on the show. Jason Drury, you may know from the Deeks Palace narration.
Oh, right.
Narrator of the Deeks Palace video.
Yes.
So I'm hoping it'll be 7:00 next Friday. I'm hoping. And I'm also juggling that with a Peter Kerr taping. So I may have all that going on. And we'll go from there. We'll be back, though. We'll be back. And we'll bring Harrison back, too.
Yes, for sure.
Harrison will be waking up in a couple of hours and watching. Well, Jex, thank you so much once again. I always love doing these Friday afternoons with you. And, I can't give you enough credit because, the first time we did a Friday afternoon, man, you just fucking stepped up to the plate and you kind of saved the show that day. Do you have a song you want us to go out on? We did Gods on the Radio last week.
We did, and I don't know your selection.
I know. Well, I mean, if you want to hear some Maxi Axe, we can do that. We've got some T-Bone Erickson.
Oh, let's go with the T-Bone.
Okay, we're gonna go with the T-Bone Erickson then. Why don't we do Community? That's a great song. All right. So thank you, Jex. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time. This is a song called Community by T-Bone Erickson. Cheers.
See you later.
In the fall of '06, somewhere in the sticks of southern Ontario, we planted a seed, had a yearning need we couldn't get from the stereo. Started out as two and it slowly grew into a passionate fraternity. No matter where I roam, it's always home, from here to eternity. It's where we'll thrive with community, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's my community. Community, it's my community. So I said, hey Joe, come on, let's go. I hear adventure, it's a calling me. We're gonna lose control down a rabbit hole in the heart of the big city. We're gonna squash a beetle with a rolling stone and fly the black flag all the way back home. If you eat shit flowers, I ain't got time. Don't matter what we find, it's the glue that binds, you see. It's where we'll thrive with community, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's my community. Community, it's my community. It's where we'll thrive with community, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's our community. Community, community, community. Community, it's our community. Community, 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 it's our community. Community, 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 it's our community.
Hola desde Cuba a la comunidad de Aaron.